Hi, I'm Doug.
And I'm Jill. Welcome to another episode of The Wire.
Whether you're scrolling through your Facebook feed or watching the nightly news broadcast, it seems like every day there's a new story about a home break-in, a burglary, or some other event happening in your neighborhood.
Doug and I, as professional realtors, have the unique pleasure of getting to know our clients on a personal as well as a business level. So when the topic of home protection comes up, it's usually to ask the question, what do most people choose? Is it a dog? Is it an alarm system? Is it a gun?
To help us answer that question are Lieutenant Jason Suydam and Corporal Noah Hughes from the Chester County Sheriff's Office. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Let's assume that our viewers here are interested in learning about guns but really don't have a knowledge base. There's so much. Where do they begin?
Well, Jill, although this is a lot of firepower here on the table, I think where they're going to need to begin is in their home and how to prepare themselves for bringing a weapon into the home if they've never had one in the home before. And I think where they're going to have to start is the family planning. Mm-hmm. If they have kids, if there's a spouse, there needs to be a discussion about what it is that they're going to do before they bring the gun into the home.
Right, so a gun may not
That's a
be
great point.
the right choice for all family situations.
Well, Jill, you and I talked to a lot of people, and they say, well, I'm going to go to Target Master, I'm going to go buy something. Well, that's probably the wrong approach. Just run out and buy something without thinking
Right.
about a plan. Jason, before we got on camera, you brought up about the puppy analogy.
Right.
You know?
So if you were to purchase a puppy, you wouldn't just go buy a puppy and just bring the puppy right into the home. There's things that you would do to prepare yourself in order to have a new family member or puppy
Right.
into the
Yeah,
home.
that's right.
And that would be, do you need to buy a bed? Do you need to prepare the family if somebody comes to the door? Is it a guard dog? Is it going to bite someone if someone
Yeah.
comes to the
They're
door?
great
How are
points.
you going to handle the bite? I mean, these are all things, there's a lot of different variables in purchasing a gun and having it in your home that you're going to have to consider before
Right.
actually going out and getting the gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good points for our viewers.
Yeah. So, Corporal, where would you begin if let's say you've got the home set up and you are ready to make a purchase? Jill and I have friends. As I said earlier, they'll run out and they'll get a 45. They'll get something.
They've
they'll
never
stick it in
shot a weapon
right.
before.
They'll stick it in their night table and they'll forget about it. And then they wonder at 3 a.m., am I really capable of using this weapon? Where should they begin?
Yeah, Doug, interestingly, I was with some friends on Sunday, and once people find out what they do, they always bring up a very similar story.
Yeah.
Hey, so many years ago I bought a gun, and it's in my nightstand just in case, but hey, can you show me how to use that
Right.
someday?
Wow, that's
You know?
scary.
Yeah.
Well, and it happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
It really, really does. So it's a great question. What to do, what to buy, how to store it. How can you safely keep it away from kids if you
Yeah.
have kids. So those are all questions that you have to ask. Really, it boils down to who the shooter is going to be, or shooters are. If it's a husband and wife, and they're both going to be sharing the same gun as a home defense gun,
Yeah.
well then, yeah, they're going to need to find something that fits both of their needs. It depends on the size of the individual, maybe how much recoil they can tolerate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if it's a novice shooter, a lot of times they build up very bad habits if they get a gun that is too powerful for
Yeah,
them
absolutely.
right off the bat.
And I think maybe a simple question is shotgun, rifle, or handgun. I think a lot of people really don't know where to go first. What would you recommend for a novice? Where would you recommend they go?
Well, those are great questions. I think it would kind of depend on where you live. Do you live in a rural setting on a farm, or do
Okay.
you live in a townhouse?
Yeah.
Or in an apartment? Those are questions I would ask because
Let's say you live in a
Farms-
townhouse. Let's say you live in a townhouse.
if you live in a townhouse, I would lean more towards the handgun side.
Okay.
Okay.
And obviously, using the firearm in a defensive situation, you want to have a firearm that is powerful enough in order to stop the threat or the attacker as they're
Yeah.
coming in. But then you have other considerations. If you're in a urban setting, in an apartment, or when there's other people around, what happens if you miss? What happens to that bullet after it leaves the barrel?
Yeah, that's right. What's
So,
beyond that target?
That's correct. We're
Yeah.
responsible for every round that comes out of that gun.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that not only the gun is appropriate to you, but also the ammunition is appropriate to your intended area of
So
use.
that is a handgun. You're looking at a bullet penetrating other walls. How does that relate to a shotgun as far as what you're using in the
Well, so let me
shells?
back up. I'd like to back up for the viewers for a second. A lot of times people will say, you read any number of these forms, and a lot of people will encourage you to get a shotgun for home defense. And they say because the spray of the BBs
Right.
won't
That's what I
penetrate
was referring
drywall.
to, right.
Well, that really depends, and it gets into the ammunition that you've chosen. So we'll get into that in a minute. But with, as you said, Joe, with penetrating the walls, between each townhome, you've got concrete or you've got block. That's one thing. But what about
The
what
bedrooms
about the
within the
bedrooms?
home.
What about children in the bedrooms? Things like that.
Yeah, that's
What
right.
What are the considerations there?
Yeah, well, obviously one of the four main safety rules is to know your target and what's beyond your target.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you got to know where your kids are and make sure that if you are going to an engaged attacker
Yeah.
and your kid's bedroom is on the other side of that wall, that you really take your time to make sure that either your rounds count or you move or adjust to make sure you
To the
only know
lieutenant's
someone
point,
else.
you know,
Right.
having the family be everybody's involved.
It's
you know,
a
this
training process.
Dad doesn't
That's right.
run out or mom doesn't run out and just buy a weapon. The family's got to be involved. You know, everyone has to know what's happening. So when there is, God forbid, a situation where a firearm needs to be put into the situation, they need to know what to do.
Right.
They can't be guessing themselves. Mom and dad can't be guessing, and the kids can't be guessing. Everybody needs to
Right.
know what to do when, God forbid, that if that time comes.
And it's not a one-time training either. It's
Yes.
something that needs to be practiced, committed
Over
to
and
memory.
over and over.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like having a fire drill or a fire plan in your home.
That's right.
One time, it escapes our memories
Yeah.
after a while.
That's right.
One thing to consider too, when you do make a plan with your family, also what happens if you need to carry out that plan?
Okay.
And
Yes.
physically walk through what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And practice that on
Mm-hmm.
an ongoing basis, like you said, because if you don't, it becomes stale.
Yeah,
It can
that's
be
right.
very stale, and it's intimidating as children are learning the process. They have different fears, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
of what's happening, what's going on.
But there's also an expense side of this. I mean, a lot of our viewers, a lot of everybody they don't have the money to buy the rounds after rounds after rounds of ammunition. And that's a consideration as well. So
Exactly.
what can they do if they don't have the money to buy the rounds? Is there something they can do to practice dry firing or something that really gets that into muscle memory without having to spend the money? I think when they feel that recoil, they know what that's like. In an emergency situation, that's probably the least of their worries, but everything else might be a consideration. What could they use?
That's a good point. So it's different when you go to the range and you
Mm-hmm.
target shoot. You're going to target shoot. Usually people have one eye closed and they're
Yeah.
standing stationary. In the event of a critical incident or someone, an attacker entering the home, that's going to be your stress levels are up.
Yeah.
You're going to be
Right.
moving. You're going to have to take consideration to other family members that are there. That
That's
may be
right.
screaming. So when you operate under stress, it's different than being on the target
Yeah.
target range.
Yes.
No doubt.
You can do some things in your home to practice movements and understanding communication with the family to help mitigate a potential situation where everyone's out of control and
Yeah,
when
that's
something
right.
goes down.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Or if
it's one
something
thing
goes down.
if one family member is a little bit out of control, maybe a young family
Right.
member that just doesn't understand.
You can practice basic movements through the home. Do it at night. Use a flashlight.
Yeah.
Have family members with you or not with you.
That's another consideration. I think a lot of times I hear people, Jill, you and I know people personally that go out and they buy these handguns, but they don't consider buying a tactical flashlight, so they don't
Right,
even know
and
how to
there's-
shoot
But
with a
half the
flashlight
time
in
your
their
home
hand.
is dark. Even if it's
That's right.
daylight, your rooms can be dark.
Most oftentimes, unless it's a burglary during the day, this is going to happen at night. You should know how to shoot in those conditions, and I think a lot of times these people don't even consider that.
Right. That's a good point. And we do recommend if you keep your weapons in a safe, maybe with a dial or a key, and you want to have something available at night, it doesn't really make much sense to, in the middle of the night under
Yeah.
stress, take
Right.
a key and go into
Yeah.
a safe to get those weapons out.
Yeah.
This is a great idea to have by the bedside. It's secure. Although it's mobile,
Yep.
it's secure for your temporary ability to get into that weapon if
Yeah.
you need to get it in an emergency.
But you've got to be, it's a conscious decision to do it.
Right.
You
That's
don't
right.
just reach into your drawer and grab it half asleep. You got to be awake
And
enough to
it's
know
a
what it is you're
safety
doing.
measure for whoever is in your home as well. Whether it's children, you have workers in the home, you don't know who's there.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any other considerations? I noticed that you guys here brought this here. It appears to be a test pistol.
Right.
Anything about this that when we were talking earlier about the people dry firing? Is this something that an average person could buy?
It is something that they can buy. They're not real common for this particular version, but there
Yeah.
are other versions similar. There's a company called Next Level Training that produces one that actually emits a laser.
Okay.
So when you're practicing your dry fire, you can pick a target. It gives you that feedback of, are your fundamentals right? Are your sights aligned properly?
Yeah.
Are they aligned properly on the target? Are you going to hit the target that you're shooting at? But it
That's
also
great.
helps you to practice doing it quickly
Yeah.
and more instinctively or reactively,
Mhm.
and so that's a great thing. You had mentioned dry fire, and dry fire is a great practice. You do need to make sure that you are very safe when you do that.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that all the ammunition is out of the gun, and that it's ideally completely removed from the room, so that when you are manipulating that gun, whether it's handgun, rifle, shotgun, that you're not going to accidentally have what we would call, some call an accidental discharge. We call a negligent discharge. It's unintentional for sure, but it shouldn't have happened. It is
That's
negligent.
right.
So
One of the things too, I mean, you can go to Walmart or one of these local stores and purchase a toy gun. And you could have that and utilize that for practice and move through the house, have it in your safe, say we're going to run through a plan. Go grab the toy gun, move around with your family and see how you aim the gun while you're moving. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do in the home before actually going on the range to prepare yourself for a potential problem.
I would agree. And I think another great idea might be and I've not done this, but I think it's a great idea. Everybody's running around with this. We're filming each other 24/7. Why wouldn't you film the family or have a neighbor or friend film the family doing it? And let's critique that. See what you're doing. See what your mistakes are. If you don't see your mistakes, you're not going to learn from them. I don't think you're going to get better.
One other thing too is when you're putting this plan together, also discuss with your family what you're going to do if you end up having to use the weapon. So if you use the weapon, who's going to dial 911? How are we going to dial 911? Who is there a neighbor's house that we're going to meet? What if you get separated?
What are we going to say? What are you going to say when you call 911?
And a couple things to keep in mind when you dial 911 is give the description of the actor, where they're at, where you're located, because when the police come and you're dressed in plain clothes, and
You don't know.
They have no idea.
And
And your stress levels are up because you don't know who's the shooter, who's not, who's
And
the
how
good guy,
many
who's the
people
bad
are in
guy.
the home is
Right.
critical as well, I'm sure.
Right. So I would suggest identifying yourself, who you are, where you're at, where's the gun, does the actor have a gun? The other thing people don't understand too is you may have dealt with that one situation, there may be another attacker. So just think that you stop one person if there's not
There's
another.
not anyone else.
If
Yeah.
the police that are
Great
coming
point.
think that there may be another person.
That's right.
You could be
And
that
you
person.
made that person.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, if people are looking and saying, "Oh, I'm not ready for a handgun, shotgun," we have here a stun gun. Is that any help?
Is that a viable alternative, really? I mean, I'll tell you what I don't like before you guys speak. You know what I don't like about this? You got to get real close.
Right.
You got to get real close.
Yeah.
And if you're that close, Jill, if you're somebody, I believe either one of these gentlemen could overpower you very easily before you really did any damage with this. Is it really a viable alternative?
I wouldn't call it a viable alternative. I'd call it a different option.
Yeah.
Right? So it's better than nothing.
Well, you know what I like about it? I think it'll scare the hell out of you. I mean, that'll make you jump back a bit, but short of that, I don't know how effective it's actually going to be.
Right.
Short of scaring you, but
well, I'll tell you, and obviously Lieutenant Suydam will know better than me. He is a OC instructor, and I've been sprayed a couple of times with OC spray. And it's
not pleasant.
45 minutes of sheer agony.
Yeah. I think it's a great
and
option.
That's
Kimber
25 feet
actually
away.
sells one of those. It looks like a handgun, right?
Yeah.
And what is that called? I
Um,
forget what it's called, but I think
I'm trying
Kimber
to pull-
sells one of those, and
Yeah.
they're not a lot. But I think again, you should train with that. I see people on YouTube. There's a lot of videos out there. Get a target out there. Go in your backyard. Spend $100. Just again, don't take that. You know, I'm not going to call that a weapon, but I guess it could be used as such.
Most
It is.
certainly, yeah.
And train with it. I think it's 2 shots. The CO2 cartridge has 2 shots per gun. Go out and shoot this and see where it hits on the target. Know what it looks like. You can do this in your backyard. I don't believe there's any laws that prohibit you from using that in your backyard. Is there?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Not here in
So,
Pennsylvania, but as we know your law state to state. If
absolutely,
you own
and
a gun,
county to county, absolutely. But in your backyard, if you're practicing with that, you're going to know when you shoot that where it hits, what it sprays like, what it looks like. And I think really the key of all of this is practice. We've all heard it since we were kids. Practice makes perfect. And yes, it's going to be a little expensive to acquire the weapon. It's going to be expensive to train with the weapon, but it must happen. Doing one without the other is why bother. I would say why bother. You're better off not having it.
Now, where can our viewers go to get more training and information to help them on this?
Good question. And Sheriff Welsh, our sheriff, is a strong advocate of responsible gun ownership and gun safety. And she has put on a gun safety course in the past and has one upcoming on April 6th.
Great.
That is
at
great.
the Chester County Justice Center. As a matter of fact,
That's April 6th, and we're going to fly that date up so you guys can hang on that for a second.
And how can our viewers register for this?
well, they can register by sending an email to gunsafety@chesco.org. In that email, include your full name, address, and a contact phone number. And within 72 hours, someone will respond back to you by email confirming their registrations.
That's fantastic. And we'll put that information down below so you can link up to that. Is this course limited to any number of people?
It is. It's limited to 80.
Okay.
Right
Okay.
now we have approximately 40 people registered, so get the registers.
As
Well,
far as I'm
maybe
concerned-
43.
No, 37 or 43 registered.
43.
Exactly right. So 37 left, guys. So reach out to these guys. Well, this is fantastic. Really want to thank you both for joining us today. This has really been an eye-opening, I hope an eye-opening episode for a lot of people that are considering it. Jill
A
and I
lot of great information. A lot of people have, apprehension, anxiety over where to go, what to do with
begin.
weapons.
Call the
Great
professionals.
start.
Get out to that home safety course. Again, that is April 6th. You got to, again, the contact information is below. You got to check that out. It'd be a great place to start. And that is it. So we know you have a lot of places to spend your time on the web. We appreciate you spending a few minutes with us.
And if you like what you saw today, please be sure to comment, share, and like. That's our oxygen. It keeps us going.
It does indeed. And follow us on Snapchat. We got a lot of fun behind the scenes stuff on Snapchat.
A lot of fun
Yeah.
because why, Doug?
Because homes are about much more than, because real estate is about much more than homes, buildings, and land.
It's about the people in the communities where they live, work, and play.
Oh, there it is. Until next time, I'm Doug.
I'm Jill.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Noah.
Thanks for watching.